so now we're going to come back and we're going to start adding fields and start calculating the geometry. I'm just going to get rid of this for a second. You can always get those back under the view ribbon at the top. So if I want to have that catalog pane back, I can just do that under view. So, but what I want in this case is to find the attribute table. So I want to find all of the different stats that are attached to each of these different polygons. And then I want to add a new field to it, or add a new column, and then I want to calculate that column. And so to do this, the first thing we need to do is find the attribute table. So pretty much in everything in ARC, you can do by either double clicking or right clicking on the file on one of the various different things. In this case, the right click is going to be more important. So I'm going to hover over this WDPA Robinson and right click on that layer. This is going to pop up a menu bar for all the different things that I can do. Now in here, you'll notice that it says attribute table and Control T. So this is the hotkey for this to open up the attribute table, but I very rarely use that. I usually just right click and go open attribute table. Typically speaking, it'll open at the bottom. So what you can see here is that each one of these has a variety of different rows. Each one of these rows corresponds to one of these different polygons. And then you have a whole bunch of other information. You have name, the designated field, so wildlife and plant sanctuary is one of the types. If there is an IUCN category attached to it, this is how different protected areas are ranked in terms of what they're protecting. There's this int crit, the parent ISO, which is where it's located, what country, shape length, and shape area. Now, one of the things to keep in mind with this is that very rarely should you trust the shape area because it's not always calculated for the projection that you have. This is why you always want to add your own. And sometimes if you do different processes, it's not going to recalculate this and you're going to have to calculate it yourself. So in this case, what we then need to do is we need to add a new column where we can actually calculate what that is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, at the top here, there's this field, add, calculate, right? So I'm going to hit add. This is going to pop up all of the different fields that I have that are available. So here, I'm going to say area PROJ. This is the projected area. This is a name that's going to pop up when I'm back in my attribute table. Now, in this particular case, you can only have up to a certain number of characters. So if I have something, a name that's too long, I can't use it. I also cannot use spaces, dashes, things like that, which is why you'll notice in all of these, they have underscores. If I go two places over, I now have something that's called long. This is the integer. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this and actually switch what this is. And so you can choose a float or a double. For the purpose of most GIS things, these functionally work the same. They are different sizes, but very rarely do you come up to the limits of these, so it doesn't really matter which one of these you choose. But they allow for decimal places. So in this case, I'm going to hit double, and then once I'm done with that, I'm going to X out of this and hit save. This takes me out of the editing sphere and means that yes, this in fact has been added as a field. Anytime I load this data set into any other map, it will now have this field. So now you'll notice that this area PROJ has nulls attached to it. So this is where we want to calculate what the area actually is. So to do this, I'm going to right click on the area PROJ. This pulls up a whole bunch of different things that I can do. And in this case, I'm going to say that I want to calculate the geometry. So if I do this, then it'll pull up and it'll say what features do I want. And I want to say I want the WDPA underscore Robinson. What field do you want to do? The area PROJ, and then the property, what do I want to do with it? So I'm going to go here and you'll notice there's a bunch of different things you can calculate. In this case, we want the area. So I'm going to click area and I want to know what units. So in my case, I'm going to use kilometers squared. Now I am Canadian, that's why I use kilometers squared, and that's what I want you to use. For the coordinate system, you don't actually have to put this in because it's going to do it based on the layer coordinate system. If you're unsure about it though and you want to put in what coordinate system you want, you can also do that here. And then I'm just going to hit OK. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for it to calculate the geometry of each one of those polygons. And that takes a little bit of time. Depending on how good your computer is, it may take less time or more time, but it will eventually calculate that. So now we have all of the different projected areas that are calculated. And as you'll notice, they do look a little bit different than the ones that were calculated for the shape area. So with the shape area, you can see that there's a bit of an order of magnitude difference, but the numbers are fairly similar, which means that it was just in different units, is likely the case here. So what I can do is I can double click on this column and it's going to start sorting them in high to low or low to high. The other thing I can do is I can right click on it and say sort ascending or descending so I can see the largest or the smallest. So in this particular case, if I sort it ascending, then I have 1, 2, 3. Those are my 3 largest ones. This is how big they are in kilometers squared. Now, one of the things you want to make sure is if you do end up with these turquoise bits, you want to clear those out because if you have selections, any function you do after is only going to be for the selection. So next you're going to want to go over to your Albers, you're going to want to right click on it, open your attribute table, and repeat the same process. So we're going to add a field, call it area PROJ, go over here, make it a double, X out of it, hit save. Then we're going to right click on area POJ, we're going to calculate the field, whoop, nope, I lied. We're going to calculate geometry, calculate field, also works, but it's for something different. You're going to go to area, you're going to want to choose square kilometers, and you're going to want to hit OK. And then you can sort based on high to low, low to high. Next we're going to head over and repeat this exact same process using our azimuth one. So right click, open your attribute table, add a field, area PROJ, change it into a double, hit X, hit save, right click on area PROJ, calculate geometry, calculate the area, and then make sure it's in square kilometers, and then hit OK. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to right click on them and sort them again, or double click and sort them so that you can find the largest or the smallest ones. So now what we're going to do, now that we have all of the different area projections, is we're going to calculate the total area, which is what we'll need. So to calculate the total area, what you're going to do is you're going to go to any of the attribute tables that you have. You're going to right click on the area PROJ again, but instead of going to calculate geometry, underneath it you'll see statistics. In newer versions of ArcGIS Pro, you may also see visualize statistics or explore statistics. You're going to want to visualize the statistics. Will pop up with the same thing. So you're going to hit statistics and you're going to then see a distribution of the statistics, and then on the right hand side you're going to see all of the different statistics attached to the area that you have. So for example, you have the average area is around 2,000 kilometers squared, you have the maximum one is 1.68 million, right? And then you have the sum, which is the one that we're going to want. So for each of these, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to the attribute table, right click on area PROJ, go to statistics or visualize statistics, and figure out what the total area is for each one of these. And so that should give you all of the information that you need for this. The last thing you'll have to do is create a layout for it, and so we'll come back and deal with the layouts in just one sec.